Here's a scientist in Michigan that can tell you a gazillion things about mammoths and mastodons just by looking at their tusks.
How much is a gazillion?
I studied the lives of mammoths and mastodons, mostly by looking at their tusks. There are periodic rhythmic features in the animal's physiology that are marked by variations in tusk structure.
Huh?
Don't worry, this will make a lot more sense later.
Oh my goodness, we got right along the axis.
I have here the tusk of a modern African elephant.
Elephants? I thought he studied mammoths and mastodons.
Actually, elephant tusks are pretty much the same.
And I've sectioned this so that you can see the inside of a tusk. This is where the pulp cavity is located. And that pulp tissue consists of cells that produce the actual tusk layers and essentially add to the tusk in this direction. Meanwhile, the tusk itself is erupting from the tusk socket, and so it's extending in this direction.
Here it is under ultraviolet light.
Ooh, look at those lines.
Yeah, the lines show how the tusk grows in layers.
Here we're going to look at a longitudinal surface. Each of these layers represents 1 year. Year 1 on the outside through year 6. Here, years 2 through 9. And farther on down toward the base of the tusk, we get even later years of life. But it's worth knowing that there's also a finer scale record of time than that. There are some very, very fine layers, tiny fractions of a millimeter in thickness. And those actually represent days in the animal's life. Day, 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 and so forth. These larger bundles represent the weeks, or approximately weeks. These variations in thickness reflect basically the conditions of growth. Typically, the days or the weeks are thicker during the growing season, spring, summer, fall. They're thinner during the season of greatest nutritional stress, the winter.
So, the more you eat, the more you grow.
Duh.
One of the things that we have access to in the tusk record is sometimes a history of fights. Now, they wouldn't jab the way a human boxer would, but they do throw their head in such a way as to thrust their tusk toward an opponent. And when a tusk impacts an opponent, it produces a downward force on that tusk, driving the growing edge of the tusk into the back of its socket. And that produces some damage to the cells that are just developing there, leading to a series of pits on the tusk surface that constitutes a record of that history of fights.
They're like tusk scars.
Oh, I see them.
Yeah.
Knowledge of modern elephants is certainly helpful in coming to a better understanding of mastodons and mammoths. We can look at modern elephants and at least start out by imagining, maybe some aspects of the lives of mammoths and mastodons are similar. And the thing that's most important for a paleontologist such as myself to do is to look at the fossil evidence and evaluate whether mastodons and mammoths showed the same patterns that modern elephants do.